Well, welcome to another episode of Coronacation. I'm Naomi White in Brisbane in Australia, and I'm joined by Gladys Ngo Tedga in Melbourne. How are you, Gladys?
I'm well, Naomi. How are you?
Very well, thanks. Gladys, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure, and thank you for having me tonight. I'm
You're
really
welcome.
glad to be able to share with you as well. So I am Gladys Tedga, as you mentioned. I live in Melbourne, in Australia. Originally from Cameroon, in West or Central Africa, depending on, how one sees geography to a large extent. And I've been in Australia for a couple of years now, close to 3 years. So as far as how I would describe myself on the professional side, I am a risk a specialist in the financial services. Have spent the past few years working for a Big Four consultancy here out of Melbourne, really focusing deeply on issues of conduct risks that are affecting the financial services, effectively ensuring that the banks and all the other providers, insurance, etc., are ensuring that they're delivering good outcomes for their members and customers. So that's been the few years for me on the professional side. It's been really, really exciting. And prior to that, I spent quite a few years in banking as well, in global markets, doing really exciting work, still focused on ethics, conduct, and culture. So I absolutely love what I do. It's super challenging, very exciting at the same time. And it's changed significantly based on what's been happening with COVID, but I'm sure we'll have a chat around that. On the personal side, I've probably got a little bit of what I would say is a different background, but I'm sure many people say that of themselves. So I moved to the US when I was quite young, after working, living across a few countries. Spent close to 10 years there, and then left the US after quite a few years to go and explore the world and pursue interesting career opportunities. So what that means is that my family is spread across the US, Europe, Switzerland for my mother's family, and then we've got some extended family back in Cameroon as well. So what that means is, on the personal side, lots of FaceTiming, lots of time trying to connect over the internet and etc. So really good, strong family relationships, and a big part of what defines me as well.
So you are absolutely a child of the world.
Absolutely.
So Gladys, tell us how the COVID-19 situation has affected you.
Well, look, it's been it's been just such a mix of emotions, I think, for me personally, and also in dealing with COVID with my family, my teams in the workspace as well. When this crisis started in Australia, I was actually at a client in Sydney in a client meeting and with a few of my colleagues, and we all looked at our phones and saw that we had emails from our CEO saying, everybody pack up and go home. um, so really that was the beginning of COVID for me personally. I think it's been a difficult time, adjusting to working very differently. Traditionally, I spend a lot of time traveling for my work, so I'm typically never at home. So it was a massive shock and shift for me to, put my suitcase away and actually stay home. I'm very much used to going and working with clients and seeing clients, and then transitioning completely to doing that using either Microsoft Teams or, Zoom or other softwares, I think was quite odd. I wouldn't say it was difficult, but that transition in itself was a big one. I think on top of that, as I think many businesses, the business that I worked for at the time went through significant changes. What that meant was a reduction in salary for all employees in the firm, which was quite tough. I think personally, and also having to have that lend properly with my teams and really the people that I worked with and the people that I supported and supported me at work. So that was extremely difficult to deal with. I think the more frivolous side, really aspect of things perhaps is the ability, not having the ability to go and work out, right? To go to and I say it's frivolous because I know that it's non-essential, and you know, if it was one thing to give up so that we could actually ensure that we slow down the rate at which the virus was spreading, by all means, it makes a lot of sense. But just because of what it does for personally for my mental health, I think it was quite a change not to be able to go to the gym and get into a boxing class or a fitness class of some sort.
Yeah.
So I think on that end, that was noticeable. But I also have had the privilege, as I think many who live in Australia, to go outside. I know I've got friends in countries like Chile, etc., that literally cannot step out of their houses. But you know, living in an area where, you know, I could easily go for a walk, that made a big difference from a lifestyle perspective. From a family point of view, I think I was already quite accustomed to being on the phone with my family quite often because they all live in different parts of the world. So it really wasn't a change in routine for me personally. It wasn't a change in routine for us. But what it meant is that I think I felt the need to be in touch more often than I was in the past. And you can imagine, and I think it's very similar for you when you live a busy life. Although I know you care a lot about lifestyle and you've got this amazing story about balance, Naomi, but I think it forced me to slow down a bit, to connect more with my family, because very often I said to myself, well, I don't know what's going to happen. You know, I've got my father who's back in Cameroon, and you know, getting in touch. How are things going? My siblings in the US, my sister in Luxembourg, my grandmother in Switzerland. So really reaching out, I found myself reaching out a lot more. And then I think the other aspect of how, and it's funny how it all happened, still within the time that we have been dealing with this crisis, everything that started happening in the US, with the death of George Floyd and all of the riots, and the Black Lives Matter movement really gaining momentum. I know that I will not think about COVID without thinking about that as well, because it happened, it's meshed together. It happened really in the same time. And for me, it's been material because I've got 3 younger siblings in Boston.
Right.
Right. So at first I was worried about how COVID would impact them, because the US has shown greater rates of infection than a number of other countries. In addition to that, I started worrying about their safety. When I saw what started happening in the US, I think it was a mixed feeling of, I think like many people, not just Black people, white people as well, people of color, etc. I think a lot of rage and complete outrage at what has happened. With George Floyd and really everyone else before that, and just the long US history of either the police showing some forms and acts of racism or any peripheral actions that are similar to that. But I think this really amplified it. So and then started fearing for the safety of my family as well. And so that's been such a big part of, you know, what COVID has, I think, led me to think about, to reflect on significantly. My sister in a conversation yesterday said to me, well, it's really a shift, and it's a shift in consciousness, and it's a shift in how we think about big social issues, big economic issues, and just how we live in general. And I think for me, these two issues really juxtaposed have meant that, I've had to rethink how the degrees of importance that, I give to things such as, quite frankly, a career, which, we tend to think it's the most important thing. And I think we just go, and we don't stop and think about, how to really value the things that we say are more valuable. So instead, just thinking around that for me. And then it led to some thinking around how I use my voice. I think looking at the Black Lives Matter movement here where I am in Australia, and how I can contribute to those type of discussions in a way that's constructive, but really ensuring that I do use my voice and that I don't stay silent.
Absolutely. So what advice have you got for people both around the world and in Australia? So either in relation to what you've learned or reflected on during COVID, or in relation to your perspective on the Black Lives Matter initiative, if I can call it that.
Yes, sure, Naomi. I think, so the other thing that I should have mentioned is that I also happened to change jobs during COVID. What is one idea? But this is linked to the advice that I would give, I think, is to really have the courage to reinvent oneself, even in the midst of a crisis. Right? Because perhaps what a crisis shows us is the fact that, things are not as grounded as we think they are. And so our risk appetite changes, or our perception of risk really changes. And so I think I would really advise that one should open up and go for, those opportunities, or go for those changes that we have historically been reluctant to make. And I say that understanding that it's easier said than done, and that there are many risks with doing that. And sometimes it's not possible because there are livelihoods and other things. But where that's the case, just a change in how we think about the opportunities we go for, I think that would be my first piece of advice. And the second one, I think, thinking about the Black Lives Matter movement is really seizing the moment by voicing one's support for Black communities. And I say that understanding that there are many complexities around that, because, actually for people who are either in or outside of the Black communities, having the right language and having the assurance that comes with having enough knowledge to speak about these type of issues sometimes is difficult. And I appreciate that. For that reason, many people, may not actually take the step towards voicing their support or voicing their feelings. But the collective voice is so strong and it's powerful, and the individual voice is as well. So I would say that all of us should use our voices, because they all matter. They all have a degree of impact, either in our own communities, in our vicinities, or broader than that. And it's not about, waving a big flag, or, people may not want to go and march in the streets, and that is absolutely acceptable. But there are other forms. There's social media that's incredibly powerful nowadays. So there's other ways to do it.
So express what you stand for, express your outrage, stand up for the vulnerable.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, well, Gladys, that's been absolutely fascinating. We've gone everywhere. It's been such a pleasure having you on Coronation, and good luck with your new job.
Thank you.
I look forward to catching up with you very soon, and I hope your family's all okay overseas.
Thank you, Naomi. It's a pleasure. All the best, and we'll speak soon.
We will. Thank you.